everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Silicon Dreams on RadioZindagi 1550 AM. This is your show host RJ Soniya from Orbis 86, and today we are going to be joined by two amazing investors in the field of Web3, and we are going to be touching upon the subjects of what's hot and what's not hot in Web3, and what are the signals to look out for when you start your crypto journey, especially as a retail investor or as an early investor in the world of Web3. So let me go ahead and welcome our guests here. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Wesley. Welcome to the Silicon Dreams. I'm going to go to Nicole first, we have Nicole from KKLabs joining us. And Nicole, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audiences here on RadioZindagi?
Yeah, thank you, Sonia, for the introduce. So, yeah, I'm Nicole. Yes, I'm from KKLabs. I joined this.
Sorry, we have some technical issues here, so I'm going to go to Wesley first. And Wesley, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Hey guys, my name is Wesley. I am the founder of Rootz Lab. We are a local Silicon Valley-based venture studio that is focusing specifically on pre-seed and seed round investment for Web3 companies, as well as broad. So yeah, that's a little introduction about me. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Wesley. And we are going to go back to Nicole. Sorry about that glitch, Nicole.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm Nicole. Just from KKLabs. We do some kind of like the. I joined. I just kind of want to introduce myself. I joined this area before 2017. I kind of like to do some very early stage projects before. We just only focus on Web3 crypto industry. So in past 5 or 6 years, I personally invest over kind of like 50 projects before. So right now we establish our own fund. Yes, named the KKLab. So right now we kind of like the digital nomads. We're not kind of like headquartered anywhere. So yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that with COVID, we have seen this work culture of digital nomads coming up. Even at Orbis 86, we are a Web3 remote company, first company. And definitely, especially as we look at Web3 companies, we have seen a lot of these companies start with remote workers, right? And that culture seems to have perpetuated, and we continue seeing that. I hope that we won't have a lot of Web3 companies calling people back to office like we are seeing with Amazons and the Teslas and everything of the world do that.
Google, whatever.
Google, yes. If well, your days of enjoying the hybrid life or work at home is over, I guess.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true. Well, let's chat about your journeys into Web3 before we even talk about what we are doing right now, right? So Nicole, I'm going to go back to you. You said that you started in Web3 back in 2017. That was another bull run, right? A big bull run in the crypto industry, the blockchain industry, the crypto industry, especially from an investment standpoint, has seen its cycles, right? We have had these series of bull runs back in 2013, I guess, when Bitcoin exploded, and then we also have had bear runs on the back of bad news, like when a cryptocurrency exchange, one of the first currency exchanges like Mt. Gox, went down underwater. But then in 2017 we saw another bull run, and that bull run was led by ICOs, right? So for our audience who is listening in, ICO stands for initial coin offering. And it is very similar to companies, and when you hear IPO, where companies are first initial public offering, when they have they are going public on the stock market. Similar to that, initial coin offering is when you have companies who, instead of launching stocks, you could say they are launching coins, and they raise money ahead of the coin launches. It's called a pre-sales round, where people can come in, they can buy the token typically at a lower price than what their public sale would be like. And we saw a lot of them rise in 2015, 16, 17 era. And then we also saw a lot of them go down, like
1 to 0. Yeah, even.
Yes, a lot of them were just wrecked. So 2017, how was what happened back then? What really sparked your interest and brought you into this wild west of Web3?
Yeah, I it's very random. I mean, it's very funny things. So I do some kind of like stuff named the kind of like the Y Combinator in Asia before. So it's kind of like an innovation or a combinator in Asia that will to kind of like inspire or to do some crypto, to do some incubation stuffs with some earlier projects. That is only Web2. So there is founder come from big company named from kind of that time is Facebook or Google or Amazon or some Apple. Yeah, the brilliant people just come back to Asia. They want to do some kind of earlier stuff.
So you had people who had already gathered experiences at companies like Google
Yeah.
and Facebook, and they were coming back to Asia. So a reverse brain drum.
Yeah, they want to establish kind of like the earlier startup to do some their own startup before. So I know, yeah, the funny things I know a bunch of brilliant people there. So there's one guy, he's in charge of the kind of like the Hong Kong head of the Hong Kong for the bank list. So he is very smart. He do some kind of like quite smart things. He before want to do kind of like the lecture brand there, but at earlier of the 2017, he just told me, "Hey Nicole, I just want to do stuff kind of like the crypto funds." I mean, what's a crypto? Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, in 2017, actually,
Yeah,
even
it's
now, a lot
earlier.
of people don't know, right? Like what cryptocurrency is.
Yeah.
Overall, globally, last year we only had 89 million active wallets, and we all know that each person has multiple wallets. So
Yeah.
not a lot of people active in crypto.
It's true.
2017 was even different.
Because he is kind of like very smart enough, so I trust him very well. So I just curious want to know what he do, and I just put some money for him, and he just to help me to kind of like open account in Switzerland, because their fund is established in Switzerland.
Yes,
So,
I think
yeah.
Switzerland has a much
Very friendly.
better
Yeah.
jurisdiction, lesser tax rates as well. Actually, they are very well regulated. They do have taxes and stuff, but
It's true.
much lesser. And they actually have proper regulation in place compared to the United States. So this is interesting. You were running the Y Combinator, sort of an incubation center in Asia.
Yeah.
And then you got introduced to crypto word of mouth, right? Like that's how I think a lot of people got brought into the crypto industry. Crypto hasn't always been mainstream news, and that's how your friend got you in, or
Yeah, it's
this
true.
smart guy that you were working with.
Yeah, I just put some money, and after several months, I just open my account there. I just say kind of like 2 or 3 plus there. Yeah, I just want to dig out what's going on. So yeah, that's my
Okay,
drilling
so
before that.
did you make money?
Yeah, it is.
All right. So okay, that's a rare case, by the way, where people. No, I'm kidding.
Uh-huh.
You have to be. It's just like any other. When you're looking at cryptocurrency as an investment, I think it would belong to the high risk investment asset class. So when we always hear higher the risk, higher the reward.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So especially when you're looking at it as a retail investor, I think that I don't like it when people go betting their entire livelihoods and they
Yeah, it's
take a
kinda
loan on
gambling,
their
yeah.
house, on their houses. They'll get a HELOC and put all of that money in crypto. Crypto is a high risk asset investment class. It's good if you want to take bets like that. But I would say that whenever we are dealing with high risk asset investments, don't put in money that you cannot afford to lose, right? For most of the
Yeah.
people, that is important. And obviously, the age that you are at makes a lot of difference. So if the only source of incomes you have are your 401k funds, definitely don't go about gambling that way. But if you are a 20-year-old and you're just trying to, you got a couple of $1,000 from your dad.
Yeah, just for fun, or
Just
kinda
for
like
fun,
for
right?
Some opportunity, or
It's
Experiments.
like gambling at
Uh-huh.
the casino, right? Just that at the casino you get free drinks. No
Yeah.
free drinks for you in the world of Web3.
So yeah, it's true. So at that time, I have the same philosophy. Yes, to do that, I just put kind of like the several hundred K to my friends there. Yeah. So after.
Right. So guys, Nicole can write for you big checks because she was just retail investing a couple of 100K. And she just casually puts it out there. So yeah, high risk, high rewards. I would have asked you how much you've paid, but we'll skip that for some other time. So let's go to Wesley. Wesley, how has your journey been? How did you get into Web3?
Yeah, so my journey was quite interesting. I got into crypto Web3 as a builder while I was in college. So
So, by the
roughly,
way, a lot of people use the word builder in the world of Web3, and many people outside are like, okay, builder, as in like,
builder as in like project building. Yeah,
yeah. So,
so
developers typically in the world of Web3, people refer themselves
yeah,
as
yeah.
builders, people who are building applications.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a builder when I stepped into this realm of crypto abyss, right? So the idea of crypto first came into mind when I was still a college student in UC San Diego, and I believe that's where the magic kind of grows, right? Like, so I started my first crypto project in 2017. At the time, it was a decentralized research platform where it allows scientists and researchers to build on across this decentralized and distributed ledger. So what we have recognized and what we have seen historically for the past decade in the entire crypto space was that majority of the crypto projects are not really having real utility adoptions, and the so few that does are the ones that truly utilize the functionalities of blockchain itself, which fundamentally blockchain is a decentralized and distributed ledger, right? So the idea came to mind. We were thinking about the Nobel Prize winners, all the in the academia world, where a lot of the scientists are not being awarded properly. What example would be given? This is actually a very interesting story, right? Whereas a very difficult problem called puncture, a mathematical problem called puncture, was actually resolved by a Russian scientist in early 2016, and the European Committee of Mathematics decided to award $1 million worth of grant to this particular scientist or mathematician. And the result was that the mathematician have declined the offer of the grant, and instead he said, "I was standing on the shoulders of the giant while I was building this whole project out, or the solutions out. That's why I don't think I should be the only person that gets the reward." Yeah. So that basically came into our mind. We believe that blockchain has the fundamental functionalities of resolving that issue, and building that one out. I have decided to pursue my career continuously in the blockchain landscape, just to see how can blockchain technologies can benefit the livelihood of us and the greater of the society. And that's how I've been in this industry ever since. Yeah.
All right. So a lot of folks who actually come into the world of Web3, especially as builders, they do come in because of the decentralized aspect of applications, right? And when we are talking about decentralized, essentially what we are referring to is the fact that you don't have any single entity or a conglomerate controlling all the applications, controlling everyone, right? You actually have a bunch of people who are able to benefit from what is being built out. And when we talk about decentralization, blockchain started as a decentralized ledger. So what blockchain does is it allows for the unbanked to be banked, actually. So when the white paper came out in 2008, and then subsequently the Bitcoin white paper came out in 2008, and 2009 was when Bitcoin was launched. And the most important thing that we need to know here is that there are 1.8 billion people in the world today who are unbanked, and not because they don't have the skills to go and bank. Well, unfortunately, financial literacy or financial illiteracy is a big burden as well, and a problem. However, a lot of these people are unbanked because banks do not deem them to be worthy customers, right? Banks feel like either these people are high risk, or banks feel like it doesn't make sense to bank them because they don't have the transaction volume that the banks are looking for. So with blockchain, with ledgers, you are able to create a decentralized financial layer where anyone can come and open a wallet, and anyone can transact on that layer and be paid and be remitted globally. Now, with the era of decentralization, we slowly got into decentralized everything. So now you have the concept of decentralized infrastructure. when NFTs came out last year and the year before that, you had the concept of decentralized art ownership. Well, today you are taking that concept and creating decentralized ecosystems for artists like musicians, etc., to directly connect with their audiences and benefit from these ecosystems. So that's an interesting evolution of the world of decentralization, and we will continue to see it evolve. Most important aspect, as Wesley put forward, is that when decentralized ecosystems are being built, instead of a single person or a group of people benefiting, or a small group of people benefiting from it, you actually have a large number of people, the masses who are supporting that chain, who are coming together on that decentralized layer. Everybody benefits from a decentralized ecosystem being built out. So that's one way it's different from the traditional ecosystems. Now, to that extent, last year, at the beginning of the year, we saw billions of dollars being invested into crypto. And then just from last year to this year, like last year, I believe crypto investments in first quarter were probably like in the tune of 20-30 billion dollars. I don't remember the exact number, but this quarter, Q3 for example, or Q2, the investments in the world of Web3 have been in the tune of $2 to $2.5 billion, right? So as Web3 investors, I would like to ask you, why has this landscape changed so much, so drastically in the past 18 months? Let me start with Wesley and then go to Nicole.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I think for investment landscape, one drastic differentiator between last year and this year was regulatory, right? So we have seen the downfall of Luna and Terra, and we also have seen the downfall of one of the biggest centralized exchanges, FTX. And the reality is that majority of these failures, the projects or the exchanges have committed, are due to irregulated centralized standards. Whereas if they were traditional companies or traditional bankings, they would be more obtained. And to a certain extent, if you are a crypto purchaser, or if you are looking in owning a portion of tokens in your portfolio, right? These are these are literally the red flags that you should be looking at, and a lot of the institutions are overseeing this themselves as well, and as a result, they have paid a tremendous amount of money for, and also opportunity costs for what have happened. And secondly, I think is because of the utility adoption. So previously, Soniya has mentioned about the actual wallet addresses that are active in the landscape, and we have seen last year a lot of the hype was built around speculative market, and when speculative are coming in, true utility adoption is no longer there, and I believe as the tight defaults, we see who is really swimming nakedly, right? Like that's the analogy that I like to use. Consolidated projects are coming out to become more recognizable. VCs are being more conservative, which I believe personally is a good thing, right? So I like, a lot of people are pessimistic about the current investment landscape, but in my opinion, I think it's actually good, right? Because the reality is when the market is in fair, you should be more aggressive, and when the market is more greedy, you should be more conservative. Right? So
that is right. So fear and greed index, guys, if you don't follow stock market, it's a term that comes literally from the stock markets. And greed is when everyone is throwing their money because everyone is bullish. And in fact, at that time, you pay a premium pricing for the deals that you're making because you have 10 other people that you're competing with to get a piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And the fear index, right, is when everybody is selling off. And smart people actually tend to invest during a time of fear because they are getting prices at a really low premium, in fact, right? And they are also not betting against a lot of competition. A lot of VCs will monitor that. Also, it is interesting that, this is the first time that a crypto bear market, so even crypto has its bull and bear cycles, but since its launch in 2008, the crypto bear market has never really coincided with a global bear market and recession. So this is an atypical scenario, I would say. Not atypical for crypto, but just atypical in terms of the world and the world's global stature, where even we have global recession that we're dealing with, that coinciding with a big crypto winter or bear market that we are looking at. But to Wesley's point, when we talk about startup valuations and when we talk about VC funds being more conservative, there were symptoms even in the past that showed that the way VCs were investing were not right. And with those symptoms, we now see the actual sickness set in, because there are so many VC funds or so many even hedge funds that are writing off their investments right now, and so many VC funds that are declaring bankruptcies, startups that are going underwater because they were overly hyped. Like one of the recent scenarios I can think of is Hopin, which was a live webinar. At one point, they were valued at close to 6 or 8 billion. And just recently, they were bought over by another company, and I forget the name of the company, but they were bought for $15 million. So from 8 billion to 15 million, right? They were a pandemic startup, pandemic hype company, and they literally went from 8 billion to 15 million. So that is interesting. Nicole, I would love to hear your perspective. You have been investing for close to 5 years now as a retail investor. Then you created a fund, right, between last year and this year. What have you seen changed? And I would also like to follow it up with a question that has your own personal investment thesis changed over the last 18 months? The kind of investments you were making over the past 18 months, have they changed? Are you more conservative right now? I would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, thank you. I just totally agree with Wesley just mentioned before. So yeah, I mean, from last year to this year, just kind of like the unexpected, some kind of like the black swan, the kind of like FTX, Luna, or some other just crash down. So it gives not only the user and also our investor a big help for us. So that's why we just kind of like the investor just put money slowly. And I think I want to addiction one more thing that kind of like the kind of like a very fancy or a new trend for the investment side. That means AI. Look at what we are. We're in Silicon Valley. You can just go outside. I mean, kind of like 90% they want to discuss AI. What's the next trend for that? So, but
most of the traditional investors go with the trends, right? So last year Web3 was hot. This year we have a resurgence of AI, especially generative AI and transformers. So VCs tend to follow the trends. There is a little bit of that herd mentality. But you are a crypto native, a Web3 native VC, right?
Yeah, but I mean, my some of my kind of body, they just invest, not only invest kind of Web3, they were kind of Web2 also. So this year or last year, they want to say, hey, Nicole, what's the kind of like do you find any kind of like interesting AI deals want to share with us? I want to have a look there. Yeah, that's a fact there. So for me, as you mentioned, we just only focus on Web3. So right now we just pay kind of like more attention. Right now we change our principle. Before that, we just only invest kind of like the premier market. Right now, we just to change kind of like 1.5. That means kind of like we do want to buy some OTC deals from some kind of like the big companies. So would
you like to elaborate what an OTC or over-the-counter deal is so people understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it means we would love to buy some share or allocation from some kind of like the investor. They just put some money before their portfolio. Yeah, so we
so generally when in the world of VC, when people are investing, typically you have investors and then you have the concept of lead investors. So lead investors are generally the first company investing in a new startup, the first fund investing in a new startup. And if they are good lead investors, then they will also bring together other investors in order to close a round. So a lot of the times investors are actually waiting for someone else to
To
jump
put-
the gun, right?
Yeah,
To be
say
the
yes
first
to
investor.
them. Yeah.
Yes, so that's what we're talking about. What Nicole here is sort of also referring to is on
It's
the
okay, quite good.
on the OTC sites. Just simplifying it for the audience so they can follow along. A lot of the times, even just the typical venture capital world, it's not very accessible to the general population, right? People
Yeah.
don't know how it works. So that's interesting. So last year, you're saying that at least in terms of your investments, the way it has changed is probably last year you guys might have led a lot of investment rounds, but now you're trying to follow along, right? Like sign those OTC deals.
Yeah, it's kind of like we just to create a name for that to provide some liquidity for some shareholder. Yeah, it's very funny. So last year we just put some money to kind of like to trade layer 0, and this year we just kind of like to seeking kind of like the layer 2 projects. There is some bunch of deals ongoing. So we just closed few last week. So yeah.
All right. So I am going to move from Nicole to Wesley, and Nicole touched upon these topics of how they have been investing in infrastructure companies primarily, when we are talking about layer 0, layer 2. Before we get into what kind of investments you are looking at right now, and also spend a little time talking about the impact of the regulatory landscape, let me ask you a question, Wesley, especially because you're a builder, right? In very simple words and a couple of sentences, can you explain the difference between the terms layer 0, layer 1, layer 2 when it comes to blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can think of this as like apartment building, right? Like so from a fundamental perspective, layer 0 is the fundamental infrastructure that provides liquidity on chain. So essentially, what that means is right now in the realm of crypto or blockchain landscape, there are a lot of different public infrastructures. The biggest being the example of Ethereum, and then there are smaller ones like Solana, Avalanche, Algorand, right? So liquidities are generally not migratable when it comes to different infrastructure. It's like early day internet, right? Like so you're unable to maneuver user asset from chain to chain without a proper bridge. And layer 0 is there to set a seamless interaction between users fund on different chains. Now, layer 1 are basically the ones that I have just talked about, where you have a bunch of applications that are building on top of these layer 1s. Now, application layer, which is what we normally call in the interim of layer 1 and layer 2, is that you have your Steppen, game projects, NFTs. Those are considered about application layer. And moving above that, you have layer 2. Now, layer 2 are generally only built on top of Ethereum. The reason for that is because Ethereum itself is having a lot of throughput for the transactions, and Ethereum itself cannot handle the capacity of the huge amount of block productions every single minute or every single moment, and therefore layer 2s like Arbitrum or Metis is there to kind of divide the attention or the validation process for Ethereum as a fundamental layer 1. So as more of the layer 2 comes out, layer 2 also holds the functionality of for instance, like zero knowledge proof, right? Whereas user A sends money to user B or assets to user B, the idea of validating that transaction is perceivable on chain. However, the exact amount is not, right? So that kind of utility and adoption comes out, would grants us a lot more of a massive adoption in the cases of like traditional banking, right? Where private clients are not entitled to really wanted their information on chain, and ZK can help a lot with that. So yeah, I think those are the differentiator or the explanation of between layer 0, the fundamental infrastructure, layer 1, the actual EVM ecosystem, and also layer 2s. I hope everybody can kind of
Yeah,
that.
I'm pretty sure that we would need more follow-ups, right? So people can understand these, but that was a great starting point. So layer zero really is that interoperability
Yeah.
layer, which is connecting all these different layer ones. Layer ones, we can think of them as the infrastructure layer on top of which all of the applications that Wesley spoke about, those are being built. Then traditionally, a lot of the layer ones are really slow. Now you have new layer ones coming out which are fast. So for example, this week we are going to see the launch of KKLabs, which
Yes,
is
C-Lab.
is
Just
they are
for fun.
timed to, yes, so far they
Finance.
are considered to be the fastest layer one. And then we have also seen other layer ones like Hedera or Solana that can theoretically have hundreds of thousands of transactions processed per second, and we have also seen that happening on their main net. But when layer ones cannot handle that kind of processing prowess, like Bitcoin, Ethereum today, they just handle a few transactions per second. That is where a lot of the layer 2 functionality also helps out. Layer 2s really help scale up and provide this abstracted infrastructure layer built on top of the layer ones, so they can provide benefits like Wesley was saying. ZK, which stands for zero knowledge, typically traditionally blockchain is transparent, so you can see everything that goes on. So you basically have all of your dirty laundry being aired out there. On the other hand, it's also good because it's great for audits. It's great for tracking things like carbon footprint because it cannot be manipulated. It is immutable. However, when you want to put things like your personal, if you wanted to bank fully on blockchain, you might want to keep some information private. Or if you wanted to put your health information on blockchain, you definitely do not want the entire world to see that. That is where you have applications like or protocols like zero knowledge coming into play, where I can see that this health information record belongs to Wesley or it belongs to Nicole, but I cannot see the content of that record unless Wesley or Nicole give me access to that. So that is what zero knowledge, for example, enables, and that's the kind of stuff being built on layer 2. Now, I would want to follow up, with the same question that I asked Nicole earlier. In terms of the current landscape, right? How has your investment thesis at Rootz Lab changed over the past 18 months? And over the next 6 months to a year, what kind of projects are you looking to invest in, Wesley?
Yeah, so I think for us, it also lays within infrastructure, like blockchain infrastructure. The reason is that I believe the ultimate adoption for blockchain technology itself lays in the accessibility. And what I mean by that is right now the cost of maintenance, the cost of usage of blockchain is ridiculously high compared to the centralized solutions, right? You have mentioned about how many people are being unbanked right now in this world, right? But the reality is, if you want all these people to adopt blockchain technology for banking services, their cost is higher than what would it cost to open up a bank account in centralized banking system right now. So why would people actually adopt, right? So our thesis has always been, what would be the future of blockchain, right? It would be, this question is is the same question I have asked myself 4 years ago, and it boils down to just one simple question: are there going to be one single blockchain, or are there going to be few important, significant blockchain in the world that represents different niches, right? Like, for instance, telecommunication, and the future of internet, actual value transaction, like money, right? Future internet money. And I believe the answer is the second one, right? Ethereum is obviously not going to dominate the entire landscape of blockchain. But there wouldn't be like 100 different chains. That's sort of my thesis. And recently we have seen modularized
blockchain
consolidation
happening.
Yeah. So we see like modularized blockchain project like Celestia, RSC, like Eclipse, providing roll up as a service. So blockchain as a service. This type of project starting to slowly roll out. That also gives us a very defined objective as of, I guess I kind of understand moving forward, modularized, blockchain impact would be very significant to the entire crypto landscape. And I believe that is something that we are very keen to move forward with, and we're very strongly believing in that thesis of the modularized landscape. From the settlement layer and to the execution layer, it can seamlessly execute on just about any transactions. So yeah, that's what we firmly believe on.
And that is good to hear. So just yesterday in the news, we follow some chains closely. So for example, Hedera, FedNow, there is an application that they are picking up that they have listed on their website as well as a list of the trusted service providers they're working with. That application is called Drop, and it is for micropayments, so that even like today we know ACH is the standard that is used in the US for payments within between businesses. And ACH fees, we know banks charge a lot of heavy fees when it comes to ACH. Plus ACH isn't necessarily real time, it's near real time, and at the same time you have to perform ACH transactions during banking hours. FedNow infrastructure, it is real time, so now you can bank 24/7 even with your traditional banks. That being said, so FedNow, they adopted Drop, and Drop is built on top of Hedera, which allows people to even send a few cents to each other, and that can only be supported because of the low cost transaction fees on a chain or a DLT like Hedera. So it's interesting to hear these conversations. Like, what I'm hearing from both you as well as Nicole is the fact that you're looking at investing in Web3 really as the next evolution of internet, right? As the next evolution of technology, as the next evolution of technology and things to build on top of. And we call this Web3 because we're traditionally looking at internet in those phases, right? You had Web 1, which was static, information was available, not easy to find, as Wesley was also referring earlier. That's when you had applications like search engines and Google being built, so you could look at all of this information, but this information was generally publicly accessible, right? So it was a very open world. But then in Web 2, we saw applications that were being built out that were dynamic, and you could interact with those applications. However, it also started creating these closed loop ecosystems. Like if your content is on YouTube or your content is on Facebook, you could not easily download it, get it on other platforms, or there is no interoperability between a lot of these bigger players as well. And now we are looking at Web3, where when you put your data on an application like Facebook, now it's not owned by Facebook, you still own it. So that tomorrow if Facebook was to delete your account or suspend your account, you still own the data that you had put out there. And when Facebook monetizes from your data, you don't actually, you get jack shit out of it, right? You don't get anything. But in decentralized applications, we are looking at even the users whose data is being used and targeted, them also earning a piece of the pie. So it's nice to see that we are having these discussions on Web3 as a technology layer to build on. However, the regulatory landscape doesn't seem to be having those similar discussions, which is sort of a little sad. But in Hong Kong, right? So Nicole, you still keep going back to Hong Kong, and you are very well invested even in the landscape over there. So Hong Kong recently, over the past couple of months, has come out as a very strong player in the world of Web3 because they have regulations in place. I would love for the two of you to shed some light, starting from Nicole, right, on the regulatory landscape in Hong Kong. How do you think it has changed, and are there any learnings from regulatory landscape in Hong Kong or globally that you think that regulators in US can probably look at?
Yeah, it's a very funny thing because we just discussion before with my friends. So yeah, bunch of my friends they want to change their headquarters to Hong Kong. Yeah, that means they were long for Hong Kong. But for me, I'm kind of like 100% nomad. So I don't trust kind of like any place will to be trust. I mean, yeah. But also Hong Kong right now is very aggressive. They just to kind of like to give some license for a kind of like exchange. But I just just noticed that is only kind of like for some foreigner people. That means not accept the China mainland people there. So it's kind of like there is a kind of like some bridge there or wall there to kind of like just only
So folks should know, people who are listening and should know that China by itself, just China, mainland China actually has a very regressive stance on crypto. I think it will change with Hong Kong coming out to the front, but at the moment, cryptocurrencies are banned in China. Not blockchain is not, because in fact the Chinese government is building a lot of public applications on blockchain again as a technology. However, the use of cryptocurrency, China, we know as a communist nation. Typically, there has been a lot of control over the flow of money. Even during US-China trade wars, we know that a lot of larger transactions going outside had to be approved by the government. So
it's very dangerous for the government. I mean,
yes, exactly. But then cryptocurrency is not regulated by any central body, right? So it really
it's out of under control. So
exactly, it's just owned by the people. So you think that Hong Kong is really acting as a bridge for people in China, for example, right, who want to get into the investment landscape or they want to get into crypto. So Hong Kong provides a good platform for them to go ahead and establish their businesses and pursue those opportunities.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? I mean, I just want to kind of extend a more topic. That means last year I just travel a lot. I just go to kind of like the African, go to the Kenya and Morocco, and also go to Egypt. So and also kind of like the Istanbul. So I mean, there is a funny things. If you kind of like the where is the kind of like the best area or best to build some Web3 or best for the Web3 people, I think you should consider kind of like the first of all, if the country, I mean the real country, the politics there is strong enough. But you can see in the US or in the China and also in the some Europe country, they're kind of like have very higher power for the politics there. So that means the regulation there is very high. So you cannot to do kind of like the very innovation stuff there. So I mean,
there is an inverse relationship between innovation and regulations. A lot of the times, if it's very highly regulated, it stifles innovation because you're trying to survive the regulations. On the other hand, obviously, we are not saying that regulations are not needed, but should not be over-regulating. There should be...
Yeah, it should under their rules.
You should still function under the rules, but regulation should not kill innovation.
Yeah, you should only to do kind of like what they say okay to do. Yeah, it's kind of like the maybe there is a kind of like a big gray area. Yeah, but
there are bigger gray areas. So, Nicole, in your experience or just your personal opinion, right? Which are some of the best crypto-friendly jurisdictions and countries that you think?
Yeah, I mean
Web3 companies could look at.
Yeah, the first one thing you should do kind of like to seeking the government is strong enough. If yes, maybe it's not the best. Secondly, if the country has a very high population base, if yes, maybe it's yes. So that means that.
So those are important things. Also, I would like to say that sometimes if the government is not very strong, and if it's really bad, sometimes even that is bad because you have a lot of turmoil. And you don't know how quickly they will change policies, right? And how they will react to adoption might be quicker because the regulations are not necessarily in place. But at the same time, you never know what kind of policies could come in, what kind of political turmoil you could look at. So that's great input. I would love to go to you, Wesley, and I would like to ask you the same question, right? Like, hey, like we've spoken about the political landscape. I think that is good. We know that in crypto we definitely need regulation. We are still not there. But my question to you is, over the next 6 months to a year, what kind of changes do you see really happening, right? Especially with the regulatory landscape. How would those changes drive your investment decisions?
I think that is a very big question. First of all, like I don't think regulatory landscape would change on a dime. On a dime means like over the course of 6 months to 12 months, there's not going to be a big drastic change. What is going to change is going to be projects and builders that are looking more at being regulated. So instead of regulators coming knocking on your door, these projects are going to be more self-compliant, meaning more KYCs, more close to friendly jurisdictions and regulated. And like what we have just discussed about Hong Kong, I think Hong Kong has a very friendly policy right now toward crypto builders. And like for regulators here in the U.S., I think everybody is looking here in the U.S. and why and how does the SEC respond to the entirety of what have happened in the crypto space over the course of past couple of years, including FTX, right? So actually FTX being one of the biggest. So like we see the two case study or two autopsies for two of the biggest company here spawned in the US. One is Coinbase. The other one is Ripple, right? The identification and a classification of two companies are drastically different. Although in many of the industrial experts' perspective, they are sort of the same. In retrospect, I think Coinbase is much more regulated in the domestic US than
Coinbase is a
right?
publicly listed company, in fact, right?
Yeah.
So they
So it's very ironic, like how SEC is
targeting
determining
them.
Yeah, like Coinbase being one of the fallacy institutions that are non-regulated. But we've been discussing topics with like projects like Astra, which is a virtual layer that is building KYC approval processes. They're a team of 16 New York lawyers, which I believe obviously projects like this has their edge, and with regards to whether or not these projects will really help with the ultimate goal of the regulators, I don't know. But I think it's a good progress. I think over the course of next decade, we would see something that is more defined, but not in the immediate 6 to 12 months. Definitely not. Yeah.
All right. So, we are obviously Web3 by itself is going to be here for years, right? So we will see that evolution change, the landscape change, and we will see a lot of applications, Web3, AI, being complementing each other, building things together on these next age infrastructure layers. Now we are at the end of the show, and before we wrap up, Wesley and Nicole, I would like for you to just tell our audiences that if they are building a Web3 company, right, and if they are looking to come and hit up some investors and just ask for advice or pitch them, where can they find you? So, Nicole, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me in Twitter or Telegram.
All right. And what's your Twitter handle?
Nicole FF 002. Yeah.
So it's Nicole NICOLE Foxtrot 22.
002. Yeah.
Okay, 002. Like we have the 007. It's 002. And find Nicole FF002 on Twitter. Wesley, where can people find you and Rootz Lab?
Yeah, sure. So you can just go to our website. It's Rootz with the Z, Rootz Lab .xyz, and just fill in the contact us form, and you'll be able to reach me.
All right, so you can find Wesley at Rootz Lab. Again, guys, it's Rootz with a Z and not an S. So ROOTZLAB.com. Go and fill out an application, and that's the best way to get in touch with Wesley. With that, we come to another episode ending here. So this was the Silicon Dreams. This is your show host, RJ Soniya, signing off. Until then, have fun, stay safe, and keep living. GHR.